What are the top 5 foods to avoid for acne or for skin issues? And how do we know when we should be getting them in, right? So the first thing we have to understand is you can't have better skin. You really can't have any better health outcome if you don't have better digestion. So the things that we want to avoid are going to be the things that may irritate, overwhelm, and disrupt our digestion. So keep in mind, that's often very personal. Some people that might be gluten or that might be dairy. So we're not going to say just to avoid those things, but the number one thing to avoid are things that just don't do any good for the body. So the artificial stuff, the artificial colors, the artificial sweeteners, things like that. The number 2 thing to avoid is too much added sugar. Now, how much is too much? That might be personal, but what the World Health Organization says that for a healthy adult, we should keep that to 6 teaspoons of added sugar as a max in the day. I also like to go one step further and say you probably don't want more than 1 or 2 spoonfuls of added sugar at any given time, so you want to avoid too much of that. Another area that I think is important when it comes to skin, and again, remember this goes to our digestion, is having meats that are processed, that have been really, getting pieces and parts or getting a lot like sodium nitrate and other things in there. So if you are going to eat meat, you want to look for better quality meats. Now, that might mean grass-fed, it might mean organic if you have access to those things. And when you don't have access to better quality meats, choose better quality plants instead. So we're on to 3, let's move on to number 4. What else do we want to limit or avoid when it comes to our skin? Well, things that are not better for our skin are going to be things that don't have a lot of nutrients that our skin needs to run better or to look better, right? So what we want to avoid there are things that are highly processed, where the good for you nutrients have been taken out. So that might be something that's fat-free, it might even be something that's sugar-free, it could be things that are isolates instead of the whole parts. I like to say, if you read the label, or if something's like a puffed flour product, or it's a white rice or a white flour, that's probably going to be not as good for your skin as something else. And the final thing that we want to avoid is we really do want to pay attention to how much of the caffeine that we're taking in, how much of those stimulants that we're taking in. Before you start crying and thinking that I'm going to take away all of your coffee forever, absolutely not. You can have coffee, you can have caffeine, and still have good looking skin and good feeling skin and healthy skin. But too much of it, that acidity and that stimulation may not be better for your digestion, and as a result, it may not be better for your skin. Can you tell us about the 3 myths that you get asked about when it comes to food and acne? 3, I could probably give you 10 or 11, but I'll keep it to 3 here. One of the myths, and I'm gonna go right for the one that's right in my heart, which is chocolate an issue when it comes to acne? Well, no. But yes. Okay, so here's what we have to pay attention to. Chocolate actually comes from cacao. Cacao is a fruit. It's actually rich in nutrients that are wonderful for our skin. But when we process cacao, when we take it down to maybe milk chocolate or to chocolate that is much lower than, say, 65% of that cacao, and then when we also add in sugar and maybe artificial ingredients, maybe we don't add sugar and we add an artificial sweetener, or we do other things to that chocolate, or even further, we just make something chocolate flavored and it doesn't even have any real chocolate in there, that's not going to be better. So if you want the better option and the myth buster there, it's choose darker chocolate, get that real cacao in there. Okay, the second myth when it comes to skin is dairy. Do you have to avoid all dairy or can you have some dairy? Now, the research shows that actually dairy, there is an issue when it comes to dairy and our skin. But the biggest issue is actually when we remove all of the fat from that dairy. So if you are going to consume dairy, and I don't consider dairy a food group, I think it can be a delicious way to get in some nutrients, but I don't think we have to get in dairy. But if you are going to choose dairy, then what you want to do is you want to look for the full fat. You basically want to get the dairy from the animal the way that it would be producing it. So if it's goat or it's sheep or it's cow's milk, you want to get that full milk, and ideally from an animal that has been fed well and exercised. A healthy animal is going to be healthier milk. That's going to be better for your skin on that part. The third myth, sugar. Is sugar bad for your skin? Do you have to avoid all sugar? Well, in the name of avoiding all sugar, a lot of times we do things that are really bad for our skin, which is we end up consuming artificial things, right? So sugar is not just a blanket statement. The quality and the amount of sugar is what you want to pay attention to. Now, too much sugar, too much added sugar, even good for you sugar, or better quality, coconut palm sugar, blackstrap molasses, honey, these things. If we're having too much of them, that's not going to be better for your skin because it's also not better for your digestion. And the reason there is that when we get too much of that in, it can be a little bit acidic for the body, right? And we want a balance of that acid and alkaline forming. But more importantly, when it comes to sugar, we want to make sure we're just not taking in too much. So try to keep yourself at least to 6 teaspoons of added sugar max. And there is a little bit of math required in that. 1 teaspoon is about 4 grams of carbohydrate. So when you're reading a label, that's how you can understand the added sugar. And then you do want to pay attention to that quality. So for example, raw organic honey is going to be different than, say, refined cane sugar on that part. What is the gut acne connection, and which age group should be focused on this and why? Okay, every body has skin, right? So we don't want to just look at one age group and say, oh, you should really be focused on that gut acne relationship. And we may think at different points in our lives that maybe we're not susceptible to acne, but that's not true. I work with menopausal women who say all of a sudden, what's going on with my skin, right? Or I might work with somebody in their 20s or 30s. And then of course we always have that empathy and that reminder of, oh, what's it like to have that teenage acne? And the reason that we want to pay attention to it for every age group is that your skin is the way that the body sends you messages about your digestion. So the gut acne connection is really the gut skin connection. And what we have to remember is that whatever's going on inside of our digestion, our gut, and remember that goes from the mouth all the way on out because we have that whole digestive tract. Whatever's going on through there is going to get expressed in our skin. So it's not just acne, it could be blemishes, it could be, dark circles under the eye, it could be changes in the texture of your skin. We really want to pay attention to our skin to tell us about what's going on in our gut. Now, specifically with acne, the acne gut connection it's really important for us to look at gut as the root cause of acne and not just start treating acne as a skin topical thing and not explore what's going on in our digestion. So when it comes to that connection, my recommendation is to start out with a digestive assessment and really look at, is my total nutrition right now actually helping my gut and as a result helping my skin look and feel better?